do we in effect have two different governments? The people who are running the show behind the scenes and those who are acting as their puppets, so to speak.
So here's the thing to understand: there are no governments. There are no governments. There are governments as a technical legal matter, and the funding goes to the government. But here's, so I'll use the U.S. government, which I understand. For a government to be sovereign, it has to have financial sovereignty, and it has to have information sovereignty, and it has to have a decision sovereignty. So I have to be able to say no without the bankers pulling my money and putting me in a position where I can't send checks to the taxpayers and the citizens. So we don't have financial sovereignty. Part of levering up the governments is putting them in a debt trap. And it's been done to the selected part of the population too. So one, you don't have financial sovereignty. Two, you don't have information sovereignty. When I became assistant secretary, I would regularly try and get data from corporate contractors that was required for me to run my operation according to the law. So according to the law, the mortgage insurance single family fund in the United States is supposed to be run on a self-sustaining basis. That is the law. I could not get from Lockheed Martin the data I needed to tell whether I was making or losing money. I finally had to have the accountants moved over to report to me and do estimations so I could basically try and implement the law. But I can't tell you the food fights I had with corporate banks and corporate contractors who would refuse to give me the data because they didn't want me to know what was going on in the operation because it was clearly outside of the law. The third thing you need is decision sovereignty. So let me step back on information sovereignty. We've seen story after story of a president trying to have a private phone call with another global president and not being able to have a private phone call. And it's getting leaked to the New York Times, et cetera, by the intelligence agencies. And this comes back to the IT systems, which are now clearly under control of both intelligence agencies and their corporate contractors. The third thing is a sovereign government needs the ability to make decisions. So I need to be able to say no to big pharma without my children, being killed or me having a car accident. And at this point, the covert operations are significant and out of control. And that includes generating control files on massive numbers of people. I was told very clearly by the cabinet secretary I worked for, who used to keep ordering me to obey the law. It was disobey the law. I refused, which is why I had to leave. But he would basically tell me, I'm going to find dirt on you and basically expose you unless you do what I say. What was very interesting is when I ended up being targeted by the Department of Justice, I think part of the problem was if you don't have a control file, they'll just make one up. And I spent 11 years and $6 million, working for free for 11 years is a lot. And I spent 11 years and $6 million proving that they had nothing. And not everyone, particularly people with a large family, can't afford to do that. So financial sovereignty, information sovereignty, decision sovereignty,